I'm going to be talking about the 3 key levers for agency growth. In terms of the key levers, there are 3. We'll help you book more leads, we'll help you book more clients, and everything's going to be great. We do the advertising call for audit. Charging clients more isn't a problem because you've got the results in the process and you build the confidence up. If someone stays for 1 month, it equals 3K. They stay for 2 months, it equals 6K. 3 months, it equals 9K. Hey guys, it's Deepesh Mandalia here. So today's elite coaching call, I'm going to be talking about the 3 key levers for agency growth. This is more based on the fact of when you have those first few clients, I see the same mistakes over and over again. And I just want to cover that topic off and talk about some of the challenges between choosing what to focus on. Because when you're at that early growth stage, it's hard. There's so many things you can do. Ultimately, there's only 3 things you can influence to really shoot up your revenue numbers. I'm going to illustrate this and kind of talk about the ways that we've handled it and what I'd recommend as well. So in terms of the key levers, there are 3. So the first one is you can get more clients. More clients through the door means more revenue. That's a big part of agency growth, obviously. But the other 2 parts, I think, sometimes get overlooked as well. Now, the second one is charging more. So if you've got existing clients, you can obviously look to increase your fees alongside delivering them great results as well. And the third one is retention. This is the one I believe, and this is speaking to hundreds and hundreds of different freelancers and agency owners, as well as kind of looking at where we grew our agency into 7 figures way back in 2019. We really did it through client retention. So I think the glamorous way to look at this is if you get more leads, you're going to generate more revenue. That's the way to grow it. And then some people will say, well, obviously, if I'm getting more clients, I want to retain more. It doesn't always work that way. This is the problem between just looking at it as a linear problem. It's not a linear problem. So if I kind of look at this one here and we say, if I get more clients and let's graph that over time, I grow my client base like that and go from 5 clients to 10 clients to 15 clients. And let's say you're charging 5K per client as an example. So you go from 25K to 50K to 75K agency. So in that respect, I think this is where a lot of people get caught up is it would seem like the easiest route is, and this is how a lot of people are illustrated the problem and the solution in terms of agency growth. It's just like, we'll help you book more leads, we'll help you book more clients, and everything's going to be great. But the reality is, this is where retention struggles. So if I was to plot another graph of clients joining and clients leaving, then it would be more like that. So especially if you're struggling, it could end up being a bit of a roller coaster. So you go through this phase of talk about time. This is the number of clients that you're attracting. And these dips are where clients are leaving. So it's great when you're increasing your client count, but then you're stuck in this everlasting loop, this nightmare scenario, maybe 1 or 2 new clients and then 1 leaves, maybe bring in 2 clients and 3 leave. And the biggest problem with this is if you're not focusing enough on retention, you're going to struggle. Retention starts from the very first moment you close that client into a paying service. So they go from the prospect stage to onboarding. So once a prospect, so this is a lead. So a lead comes in and then you close that lead and then they start the onboarding phase. So at this stage, they are a customer, but onboarding is a process in itself. Now, mostly it could be a 1-day onboarding, 7-day, 30-day. For us, it was always a 30-day onboarding. Now, it doesn't mean we don't start running ads until 30 days. What it means is you're hand holding that client for 30 days and giving them the white glove service until you're into the phase of understanding, of rapport building, getting results, and everything's going well. For some clients, it might take longer, especially if it's a lot more complex. For other clients, within 10 days, onboarding's done and it's all good. But this is to give you an idea of how we handled client retention right from the start. So at this prospecting stage to onboarding, this close stage is so important because what we do at this stage is we do the advertising call for audit. So this gives us an idea of who the client is, where their problems are and things like that. But it also gives the clients an early sight of what our strategy is going to be and therefore what they're buying into. Because this is ultimately when a client joins your agency, you've only made a promise to give them results. You haven't delivered anything yet. And I think this is where a lot of agency owners, and especially people that are closing sales, kind of get lost in the fact that just closing that 3K contract or the 5K or the 10K contract, that is not the goal. Your goal is, can I get them into month 1, month 2, and month end? Because that's a true sign of success. Retention is where your business can grow with far less stress and anxiety, because ultimately what you're doing is you're growing with your clients. So let's say, for example, what's the value of a new client? Say you're charging 3K, for example. It seems to be a standard number for freelancers when they're starting off. Let's just say you're charging 3K. So that's a new client that joins your agency. Now, what's the value of someone that you've retained? This is obvious math. So if someone stays for 1 month, it equals 3K. They stay for 2 months, it equals 6K, 3 months, it equals 9K. Now, this is what I'm looking at. What's the actual customer value? You can look at that at the customer level. So then I would look at this and say, right, even if I'm selling a 3K contract, if I can get them to stay at least 6 months, that's an 18K deal right there. So now I'm looking at my closing and saying, what are the things I need to look out for when I'm closing these contracts to make sure that these are going to be clients that stay, so that I'm not stuck in this vicious cycle of attracting new clients, losing new clients, and then kind of rinse and repeating. This is a bad model, and you shouldn't be trying to go from 5 to 10 to 15 clients. What I am saying is, if you don't set it up properly, you'll end up creating this roller coaster. And I am saying this from experience, because that's what we had for the first 12 months when we started an agency. We didn't have this retention model dialed in. And going back to what I was talking about, when you sell the strategy, and for us, we would show a 30, 60, 90-day plan at the highest level and would say, hey, we understand where your biggest problems are. So the advertising call for, it's concerned with product, audience, offer, and funnel. So we're grading them based on these and saying, hey, this is where you're graded, this is good, this is excellent. We might just give 3 ticks there. So the biggest problem is the offer. This is what our testing process looks like. This is how we're going to improve your messaging, your creative, your funnel, your landing page, and things like that. All of a sudden, we have a clear plan. So that first 1 month plan is very clear. And for us, because we've done it over and over again, we know if there's a particular problem, what essentially the solution looks like. It's all templated, it's SOPs, right? Then we say, assuming this goes well, then this is what month 2 looks like. This is what month 3 will look like. And then we are refining that process every time we're communicating with a client. So we don't just go into it and say, hey, here's the 3-month plan, sign the contract, and then we're never going to tell you anything ever again. This is a bit vague because we just don't know what's going to happen, but this is fairly concrete. And then guess what happens? We then have in month 2 another concrete plan, and then we have some vague idea of where things are going to go in 2-3 months time. And guess what? You're keeping the client up to date all the way through here. Client in month 1, client in month 2, then you're pushing on retention because you're creating results for them and you're keeping them on the journey. And this is why in every communication I talk about as an agency owner and growing your agency and doing it without this stress and anxiety, I'm always talking about client retention first. Obviously, the first step of growing into a freelancer agency is getting your clients first. And there are so many ways to do that. I think from an education point of view, training point of view, things like that, it's been over talked. How to get clients. I can get you 10 clients in the next 7 days, 30 clients in 30 days, or you don't pay. Like, everyone's talking about this. But this is where the biggest problem is, because I know for a fact, if you don't have this dialed in, you are going to be pulling your hair out because clients are joining, clients are leaving, and you don't have the system that's stitching it all together. And I think this is the key thing for me, is when you get that retention model right, you'll have far more confidence in pushing more clients through. And then guess what happens? Because you're so good at it, charging clients more isn't a problem, because you've got the results and the process and you build the confidence up. So now you go back to your next client and say, our retainer model is 5K plus 10% of whatever you've got, revenue, profit, ad spend, things like that. And it all becomes a big part of your growth flywheel. And this is something I talk heavily about, because for me, flywheel system is something that builds momentum based on its own power and then outputs more and more. And that for me is how generally any business works, but how we made our agency work. So the flywheel is you get your first few clients, you start to get them results, you start to build your processes around those results, and then you get really good at retaining clients. Retaining clients at the bottom line is results. When you close that client, it's a promise and it's like, hey, here's how we can do it for you. But at that moment, the client doesn't really know if you can do it for them. They might have seen a testimonial, maybe this had a referral. That's all great. But at that point, it's just a promise that you can do what you say. So really month one is how quickly can we deliver a result? We do that literally on day -0 before they sign the contract by sharing the AC4 strategy. So at this point, we're saying to the client, we know what your problems are. We've identified them. Internally, we have a very quick process with the AC4. We know what your problems are, and we're going to solve it by doing this. The client then sees that, and I would say 9 out of 10 times, other agencies that they're speaking to or freelancers are not doing this. So they'll be looking at this and saying, that's interesting. The other agency said, hey, yeah, we can get access to your ad account. We've had a look and we can start running ads next week. But your agency said, here's an actual strategy for 30, 60, and 90 days. They seem to understand my business. They seem to understand what the problems are, and they've got a solution for it. Well, guess what? I'm going to go with your agency because you're answering a question and you're building that confidence and you're showing them you know how to deliver what they're looking for. So when you get this right, everything starts to cascade. You're automatically going to get more clients because you're closing at a higher rate. And this is what we end up doing. You're going to be charging more because you have the confidence in your delivery and you're so good at pitching, not just the promise, but showing time and time again, you can deliver results. Therefore, because that process is dialed in, you're retaining more and more so that you can get to this position where when you do bring in more leads, you see these ads and people say, hey, I'm going to bring you a flood of leads. They don't care how you handle those leads. As long as they deliver you the leads, you said you want to pay $100 per lead, they're going to give you all the best leads, but they don't care whether you're going to close them well, you're going to retain them. They don't care about the quality of your service. They're just sending these leads to as many people as they can because they're getting paid on leads. That doesn't help clients. And I come from an environment where I've spent more time client side than agency side. So I've run my agency since 2017, but I've been working in-house or with clients and stuff way longer. So I kind of balance it out between, I'm not just looking at what I can do as an agency owner. I'm looking at it from a client's point of view. What's in their best interest in terms of what they pay, the service they get, the results they get, and things like that. Because that for me is the differentiator between one of these kind of fly-by-night agency owners that just want to close as many leads as possible. And unfortunately, I've seen many of these as well. And I don't agree with that model because if you can't deliver results, you're playing with someone's livelihood. If you think about all the business owners out there that need your help, they could be small businesses, medium businesses, people that are betting their life savings on this business working, and they're trusting you with it. And they're giving you their life savings. They're giving you their future, their plans, their hopes and dreams and things like that. That's a big burden to take on. Now, maybe it's just me. Maybe I actually feel more for my clients than others have. I'm hoping that's not the case for you. But that's a big responsibility. So when I see in forums and people like, yeah, I got this new client. I've never run Facebook ads before, but I'm really confident I can take their spend and start learning on the job. Really, you're going to do that? So let me put you in that position and say, hey, you can get a really cheap brain surgery done on that thing that's growing inside your head. Surgeon's never done it before. He's read some textbooks. He's kind of partway through university, but he'll do a really good deal and say, don't pay unless we get results. Now, that's an extreme example, but if you don't get a result, you're going to die. But the business could be in the same position. If you don't get them results, their business could die. They'd run out of funding. That person has to go back to a 9-to-5 or get a loan or whatever it is. That's a tough thing to handle. And I think this is where it kind of comes into running your business ethically in a way that, how would you like to be treated? I understand that doesn't account for everyone. Not everyone cares about the clients they service. If that's the case, this isn't really for you. But if you do care about your clients, as well as caring about your own business, if you have a team, caring about your team, caring about what you're giving out in the world and things like that, then I really, really, really encourage you to focus so heavily on retention. I'm not saying this, do it. I'm not saying close down your lead gen and don't worry about any new clients. But if I was to bias how much time I'd spent initially, I would probably say I spent a lot of time in the first 12 months thinking about prospecting and lead gen and things like that. But when we started to see more clients leaving, and it wasn't just because we couldn't get good results, sometimes we just brought in the wrong clients. Because if your goal is, I want to get as many clients as possible, you will end up reducing your price, bringing in clients that are not a good fit for you, and being afraid to say yes. And we did that in the first 12 months until we realized actually retention doesn't just come from getting clients great results. It's also about making sure you bring the right clients in. And again, that's where our process comes in. So if we do this audit before close, and internally we look at this and say, this isn't actually an ideal prospect, that becomes a clear decision point. Do we bring this client in on a different product because ads management might not be the right product? Maybe there's something else we can offer them, or we just go back and say, we're really sorry, but we are not the right agency for you. Maybe give them a recommendation. But what we're doing is filtering and applying a quality layer on the clients that we do bring in, and we give them the strategy up front, and then we kind of run that into delivering them great results. So the key thing here for me is there are 3 parts of really growing your agency with more clients, charging more, and also retaining more. But I would say if you're less than 50K a month, retention is your biggest need. If you're not retaining clients, and I would say on average, you should be keeping clients between 5 and 6 months, especially if you've taken on an ads management responsibility for the client. No client's going to say after 3 months, thanks for growing my business, but yeah, we're going to take it off and on from here. They're going to want you to keep pushing. Now, there does come a point where maybe 6, 12, 18 months down the line, the business owner wants to take things in-house, but very rarely does it happen below 6 months. And if a client is staying with you for less than 6 months, you've got a problem. It has a knock-on impact on every other part of your business. The more clients that leave, the more clients you're going to have to bring in. The more clients that leave, the more your team is going to have to learn a new client, or you if you're running the ads as a freelancer, and that also becomes a problem as well. So there's so much benefit in retention. And also as you retain clients, and if you've set your contracts up in the right way, as we talk about as well, then the more results you deliver, the more money you're making with and for the clients. And those long-term clients are the happier contracts and the happier relationships to manage. I can tell you that as a fact. We've had clients that stay 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. You get to know them at a personal level. They get to know you, and everyone gets comfortable, but you're still pushing for results. You're still understanding that you're there for performance, but you have such a strong relationship with that client. It becomes a breeze. You're good at what you do. They have full confidence in you. They pay you on time. They're ready to pay. You're increasing retainers because you're delivering them even more results. And the whole thing, the whole flywheel system means that you're actually growing not just through increasing your number of leads, but you're also growing. And this is the thing, like you could grow further from here. We were doing 100K, 150K. It wasn't through more clients. We would always have a cap of 12 clients, give or take, but our revenue was still increasing. And we chose to do that because we didn't want more than 12 clients. Some people will go for 50, 60, 70 clients and then cap their per client revenue at 2K or 3K. That's fine. But we wanted to charge our clients more and more, but limit the number of clients we were working with. So you can choose your model within that. I can tell you it's easier to have fewer clients and charge more than it is to have a roster of 50 clients, end up charging a tiny fee, because the more clients you have, the more admin and the more communications and things like that. But that's a path for you to choose as long as you're clear on where you are on that retention path and you deliver your results and your client retention first before you go and chase those new leads.